Hi everyone, and welcome back to Hyperight Data Talks. Today I am here with Gautam Verma, Head of Data Enablement at the Department of Government Enablement. Welcome, Gautam. It's our pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you, Jan. It's really nice to be here with you today.
We are pleased to have Gautam as one of our speakers at the 10th annual edition of the Data Innovation Summit, which will take place in May in Stockholm. Gautam will present on driving a data-driven culture. And Gautam, today's conversation, I would like to start by asking you, can you share your perspective on driving a data culture, also considering your nearly 15 years of experience in data governance and strategy?
Yeah, and this is a topic which I think people resonate with, but it's something which definitely needs to be addressed. So I'll share based on my years of experience. For me, the biggest stumbling point when it comes to transformation programs, be it data, technology, digital transformations, it is the people, the humans behind the technology that either make it or fail it, right? And that's where people change, and culture in specific plays the part in terms of successful transformations. Now, culture is, as a term, is fuzzy, right? It is not a tool. There isn't a product which you can black box or white label this around. And that's primarily the reason why culture transformation has bewildered and baffled so many people around the world, right? And in my pursuit of working in this space and delivering culture change programs, the intention really is, how do we try to standardize and possibly create a framework for culture transformation that can be applied in the context of these transformation programs. So culture change as a people problem is what I'd like to derive and would like to discuss further.
Thank you for that answer. Speaking of culture programs, in your upcoming summit presentation, you will present a case study on implementing a data culture program. So can you briefly walk us through this case study?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the way I'd like to define culture change programs, and in this particular case, this case study is changing the mindset, enabling the skill set, having the data set, and applying the tool set around it. All right. So you have mindset change, skill set change, data set enablement, and tool set enablement. And there is a reason why I've broken it down in that sequence, because mindset and skill set are the two bigger pieces which need to be addressed for a change program to essentially succeed. Now, in this case, for this particular case study, the one that I'd be presenting, this is one of my past clients that I worked with in the space of retail. The business was stagnating as a lot of businesses were suffering around the COVID period. There was high attrition rate, and the culture wasn't really supportive of change. And what I mean by that is, there was a lot of mindset of data hoarding, information hoarding, working in silos and operating in bubbles as a mindset, right? With all these challenges, the data access itself was fragmented. Having a 360-degree view of customers was a luxury that they did not have. So, I'm trying to give you the lay of the land, which is very stagnant growth, and the business itself not supporting the growth of the organization. We looked at it from the level of culture enablement and looked at the hearts and mind problem by addressing the skill set through building organization-wide literacy programs, both as data literacy as well as business literacy. All right. And a lot of people don't like literacy as a term, and I'm not averse to that. Fluency is a term that a lot of people use these days. So we looked at it from the lens of business as well as data to bridge the gap and bring them together from a conversation standpoint. That addressed the foundation. To top it up, how do we address the mindset, which is people actually applying the data capabilities in their work environment? For that, we built networking and connection programs such as rewards and recognition, because at the end of the day, Jan, I'm sure you'd agree as well, people are cynical. Everyone wants to know what's in it for me, right? And that's what it boils down to. So we looked at it from that lens and made sure that humans, people, individuals behind these transformation programs get rewarded. They get recognized for, adopting data practices, and complemented that by building champion programs where these early adopters came together to actually brainstorm solutions, to actually share ideas, and essentially spread the word. Because those early adopters are the ones who essentially spread the word and message within their respective businesses. And that program was complemented by offline conference, which was conducted once a year. We did two for this client, which was really the forum for the chief executive officer of the company to essentially go meet, these data practitioners from the organization in a networking setup, right? So that the humans actually connect and talk to each other in terms of sharing ideas. We apply all these three different pieces to address the mindset, and over a period of time, we did see the key benefits, and we stayed true to the purpose, which is individual recognitions, a sense of belongingness that people would like to get, and an opportunity for these data practitioners to do some personal branding. A lot of people prefer that as a motivation, right? So they got that limelight to be able to do that.
This case study is really interesting. I'm sure that the people who are going to be attending your presentation will enjoy it, especially people who work with data. So you touched upon some of the challenges that you have faced during the COVID period, and also you mentioned some of the solutions. But can you elaborate a little bit more on the specific, I would say, solution approach that you use to address the problems that you have faced, especially during the COVID period in this case study?
Yeah, certainly. I think one of the biggest one was if you don't look at it from the lens of a typical change management cycle, you're setting yourself up for failure. And we made sure that there is a change management lens to a culture program. What I mean by that is there was a very robust communication plan, and these were COVID times, so the communication plan was aligned with the protocols of the region at that point of time, which meant a lot of your physical town halls were converted to the virtual town halls, supported by AMAs with the data practitioners, which is Ask Me Anything, and the other levels of the communication plan. That communication plan was complemented by, and I'm still wearing that change management lens, was supported by impact measurement, which really meant that you are implementing these initiatives, but making sure that there is an impact, and I mean business impact, coming out of these was being tracked. That aspect of impact measurement was embedded in our framework, which included business metrics, which included your data metrics, all of them aligning with the business strategy and my data strategy. And to give an example of some of these measures, the adoption rate of Power BI dashboard over a period of time was one of such metrics. And I'm giving Power BI in particular primarily because the business was aligned to that. But we made it extremely tangible, is what I'm trying to get to, in order to measure this change and impact of the change on the overall business. And most certainly, we made sure that this culture change program is not playing at at a lower level, but it is a boardroom conversation which required a lot of stakeholder management, which meant your conversations need to come from top down. The leadership at the top really needs to be talking about it. There needs to be a discussion, buy-in, all the way to the senior level. And that wasn't easy, primarily because the business did not rely on data for its key differentiators, but with the value proposition and making sure that the finance heads see the value in being more compliant through doing data management and through doing this culture change program, we were able to build that buy-in from the senior leadership. So those were some of the key measures, Jana, that we implemented in those testing times in order to make sure that this program is not operating in a bubble, but has tentacles across the organization.
And you mentioned that it wasn't easy. So I'm curious to
any change
hear.
is not easy. If you ask, and then I've done this in conferences, when I ask this question, do you think change is important? And everyone raises their hand, right? But when you ask, how many of us are going to change and are going through a culture change or any sort of change in their programs, in their organization, I don't get many hand raises, right? So implementing of this is the challenge. I'm sorry I interrupted your question.
No, it's no need to apologize. It's a good analogy that you just said. I am also curious to hear what are some of the key lessons that you learned from driving this data culture transformation, especially in different organizations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the biggest one was make sure that you highlight the WIFM. And it's an acronym that I like to use, WIIFM, WIFM, what's in it for me, right? And everyone cares about it. They might say otherwise, but at the end of the day, be it the chief executive officer or a data engineer, all of them care about what's in it for me, right? And what we did was we made sure that we essentially relate our messaging, which was, by the way, a trial and error. We did not appreciate this enough initially, but after we failed in getting traction with the executive level, we realized that we don't need to talk data governance to those people. We don't even need to talk any data domain at all. All we have to do is translate that into their language and make sure they see the value in what their mandate is in the business. So value realization by showing what's in it for me, what's in it for the senior CXOs across the business. That was a very big lesson learned to get the buy-in. The other one really was doing digital transformation. Don't really talk digital transformation. Don't talk about the technologies that you'd implement. Talk about business transformation. Communicate business transformation to the stakeholders. They don't need to know anything about the digital tool sets that you'd be implementing. The other one, which, and I think more and more people resonate with this now, is talking about data fluency is brilliant, but let's not underestimate the importance of business literacy or business fluency, right? Which is data specialists appreciating and relating to business goals and objectives. So essentially data practitioners speaking the business language. And I don't know if you agree or disagree, and I'd love to know, Jana, but I feel the data practitioners have a sense of superiority complex, where we almost find it demeaning to learn about business just because we take so much pride in our craft. I don't know what you think about it.
I think that this topic would spark a lot of conversation between you and the other peers that you will come across on the summit. And I'm also curious to see how that will go. Speaking of balance between the technical part and the human part, the human aspect of fostering this kind of mindset, how would you say that organizations can maintain such balance between the technical part and the human part?
I think the leadership of the organization dictates a lot around how this is perpetuating over a period of time. The leadership is the driver in the maturity of the organization. I'd say that over a period of time, as the maturity increases in terms of adoption of these practices, as the culture becomes, continuously embedded, you'd see this more being seen more as a program rather than as a project, which has a defined lifespan, which is a complete no-no. But you'd see these mindsets changing over a period of time. And frankly speaking, there is no other way of making this sustainable other than having it come from the leadership's level. Now, that is a make or break situation, and that's where a leadership position, learning from the lower ups and people below them, is a very open-ended and is a mindset for success, and that's what I propagate, which is be open to change, be open to adopt with the changing circumstances in order to sustain yourself, like the Walmarts of the world, and not become obsolete like the Nikons of the world. Sorry, the Kodaks of the world.
I would have one more question to sum up today's conversation. How do you envision the future? How do you see this data culture evolving in the next 1 or 2 years?
Yeah, and then it's a question I like to reflect on a lot. I think that it's still it's still not been cracked to the level that organizations would have loved to. But I think the enabling technologies such as Gen AI are helping a lot in making these business practitioners become more data driven. Because let's face it, the data practitioners never make up more than 5% of the workforce. The remaining 95% in any setup, in any industry, in any vertical, the remaining 95% is your business audience, right? And change is only successful if this critical mass of 95% is addressed. And that's where the role of the technologies which are easy to adopt, such as Gen AI, will be very crucial in adopting and becoming more data-driven. I think the organization mindset of being open to adopt these newer technologies, such as Gen AI, will be the differentiator for the culture programs to become more successful in the coming years. So I'm keenly watching how Gen AI and other technologies make this sustainable going forward.
Oh, thank you, Gautam, for sharing your insights. I'm sure that whoever is watching will find them valuable, and it's a very interesting topic, really. So me and the team look forward to hearing more on this topic from you at the Data Innovation Summit. And thank you again, and see you at the summit.
Indeed. Thank you for having me, Anna, and have a very good day ahead. It was a pleasure being with you. Take care.